Detroit's nickname, the Motor City, is not an overstatement. Freeways have names like Ford and Chrysler. The names of cities in the area sound like an auto parts catalog. In mid-August, the locals celebrate the history of the Motor City with the world's largest car cruise. Woodward Avenue stretches from Detroit to Pontiac, and for over 8 miles, it is invaded by over 30,000 custom, classic, and antique automobiles. An estimated 1 million people gather at this event, celebrating America's automotive history.
Okay, my name's Roy. I'm from Grosse Pointe Woods, Michigan. This is my 40 Ford sedan behind me. I built this car from scratch. This car was originally just bare metal, no drivetrain, no interior. So I decided to make it a driver, put a twin-port 350 Chevy fuel injection motor in it, 4-wheel disc brakes, air conditioning, power windows, cruise control, and this car gets driven. Trust me on that. The engine's actually a ZZ2 crate motor. I pulled the camshaft out of it, put a fuel injection cam in it, and put the twin-port fuel injection setup on the motor itself. It's got a serpentine drive, power steering. The rear axle is a 9-inch Ford. It's got 4-wheel disc brakes on it, parallel leaf springs, Mustang 2 front suspension. So it does ride real nice. I have driven it Burlington, Vermont, Waukesha, Wisconsin. So they say it does get driven. But when I was a little kid in the old neighborhood, one of our neighbors had a 32 Ford that he was building from scratch, and I used to see that go down this dirt road and caught my interest, and I guess that's what started it. I must have been about 10 years old, probably. Quite truthfully, I don't know how Woodward got started, but Woodward Avenue, back in the 60s when I used to cruise, was a hot spot to go if you wanted to get into some drag races, But back then it was muscle cars mostly. There's just an awful lot of car people, as you would expect being the Motor City.
Detroit built the cars that have driven our country for the past century. This is where these great machines were imagined, designed, and built.
My name is Ken. I'm the owner of a 1968 GT500 KR Shelby. I've owned this vehicle since 1971, purchased it right out of high school. I drove the car for approximately 4 years before I took it apart to restore it. The car sat after that for 25 years before I found the financial means to finish it off. So it's actually only been on the road now for about 4 years. The KR is actually a half-year model. There were 933 built in the fastback version, 300 and some convertibles. How many exist today, I'm not really sure. The supposed story behind the KR is that General Motors was supposedly going to introduce a car with the KR emblem, and Carroll Shelby beat him to the punch and used it and put it on the Shelby. Lived here all my life. Cars have always been a pretty big part from when I got out of high school. Everyone seemed to need to have a car if you were going to do anything or be accepted. A lot of car shows in the area. They've grown in number over the past years. Car shows weren't as big back when I got out of high school, but there was gatherings, cruising as they call it. It's grown tremendously in the past years. It's very nice that you can go to just about any event, and even if you don't know anybody, just within a matter of hours, you find a common denominator, which is the car. People like to talk about them, they like to ask you about them. They like to show them off. They like to see them. The Cobra Jet engine. The package was basically the heads were. It was a different set of heads. It was a different crank rod and piston assembly for it. There were rated horsepower from the factory was 335. Although it's another common joke that actually that was done for insurance purposes, that the motor was rated much higher. I really don't know. I've never had it on a dyno or had it checked, so for now we just take the word for it that it's 335 horse. It's fun. It makes you feel young again. Like I say, I had the car sit for 25 years, but after I got it done, got back to driving it, I felt just like I did the day I bought it when I got out of high school. Time machine, so to speak. My dad always questioned why I hung on to it for so long. Then when he learned the value of the car, he thought I made the smartest choice ever. So it just took a little while to win him over.
Ford Motor Company is celebrating 100 years of automotive greatness. On display were some of Ford's famous cars from the past and a glimpse of what the future holds. Several GT40s were on display. These retro sports cars are incredible. This has to be one of the baddest cars to ever cruise Woodward Avenue. With over a century of fantastic Fords on hand to admire, we can only imagine what the future will bring. Detroit's history with the automobile is celebrated with this fantastic event.